1891. Wyoming Territory. A rancher named Thomas Brennan shot something that stood 13 feet 2 inches tall, something that had been living in his canyon for 8 months, something that was building. When the U.S. Army arrived 11 days later, they found what it had built, and they burned it. All of it. But they couldn't burn what Thomas Brennan had already hidden, a set of architectural drawings showing buildings that wouldn't exist for another 60 years. Thomas Brennan was 52 years old, ex-Union cavalry, Wyoming rancher since 1879, 2,400 acres in the Bighorn Basin, cattle operation, seasonal shepherding, January 18, 1891, checking fence line in Red Canyon, snow on the ground, temperature below zero. He heard something, not an animal sound, metallic, rhythmic, like hammering, followed it 3 miles into the canyon, found a stone structure, partially completed. Walls 12 feet high. No mortar. Stones fitted so precisely you couldn't slide paper between them. And working on it, a man, if you could call it that, standing over 13 feet tall, skin like old leather, hair down to its waist, gray, not silver, gray like weathered granite. It was lifting a stone, 600 pounds minimum, placing it with surgical precision. Brennan didn't move. The giant turned, looked at him, eyes pale blue, almost white, and spoke, English, accented, but clear. "You are early." Brennan carried a Winchester. He didn't raise it. The giant was unarmed. But that's not why. Brennan later wrote in his journal, "I didn't shoot because I recognized something. Intelligence and exhaustion, whatever this thing was. It wasn't a threat, it was tired." Brennan came back the next day, brought coffee, bread, dried beef. The giant was still working. Brennan asked the obvious question, "What are you building?" The giant paused, looked at the structure, then at Brennan, a marker. "So when they dig, they will know." "Know what?" "That we were here." The giant gave his name, or what sounded like a name. Brennan wrote it phonetically. Vorethan. Vorethan. He asked where Vorethan came from. The giant pointed south, then west, then gestured to the ground beneath their feet. "From here." Brennan didn't understand. Vorethan explained, slowly, in English that was better than most immigrants. "Better than it should have been," he said. "This land, before your people, before the treaties, before the forts, was not empty. Cities stood here, not tipis, not camps. Cities, stone buildings, paved roads, running water, lights that burned without oil." Brennan asked when. Vorethan answered, "Within your grandfather's lifetime." Brennan didn't believe him. Vorethan said, "Ride north, 6 miles. There is a hillside collapsed from erosion. Dig 8 feet down. You will find a wall." Brennan rode out the next morning, found the hillside, dug for 3 hours. At 7 feet, his shovel hit stone, smooth stone, polished, too perfect to be natural. He stopped digging, covered it back up, rode back to the canyon, and asked Vorethan, "What happened to the cities?" Vorethan said one word, "Buried." Not destroyed, not abandoned, buried, in mud, in 1811, and again in 1859. Brennan knew about 1811, the New Madrid earthquakes, but mud floods? He'd never heard that. Vorethan smiled. "No one has." For the next 7 months, Brennan visited the canyon every week. Vorethan worked, building the marker, stone by stone. No tools, no scaffolding, just hands. And time. He told Brennan things about the land before 1800, about the network of cities that stretched from Montana to New Mexico, about the people who built them. Not all giants, but taller than modern men, 8 feet on average, 10 feet common. Some, like Vorethan, over 13. He said they had lived alongside the native tribes, peacefully, for generations, until the mud came. 2 floods, 1811, 1859, the second one worse, rising 20 feet in some valleys, swallowing entire towns. The survivors scattered. Some went underground, some fled to the mountains. Some tried to blend in, but the army was already hunting them. Brennan asked why. Vorethan said, "Because we are evidence. Evidence of a history. they are trying to erase. In July, Vorethan showed Brennan something, a leather case, hidden under a stone. Inside, drawings, architectural plans, rendered in charcoal and ink, buildings, complex buildings, multi-story, geometric precision. Brennan recognized some of the techniques, load-bearing arches, buttressed walls, but other elements were unfamiliar, structures that seemed to incorporate water flow, roofs designed to collect and channel light, foundations that went deeper than any building Brennan had seen. Vorethan said, "These are memory, copies of what was, before the burying." He told Brennan to keep them, hide them. The army will come. They always come. When they do, burn nothing, hide everything. Brennan asked how he knew. Vorethan said, "Because I have seen it, 14 times, in 7 territories. They take the bones, they take the artifacts, they take the witnesses, and then the newspaper retracts the story." August 4th, 1891. The marker was finished, a stone structure, 15 feet high, perfectly square base, tapered to a point, walls carved with symbols, not petroglyphs, something else, geometric, mathematical. Brennan asked what they meant. Vorethan said, "Dates, coordinates, a map to 12 other sites, where my people built, before we were buried." August 15th, 1891. Brennan heard gunfire, 3 miles from the canyon, close to his ranch house. He rode out, found Vorethan, on the ground, shot, twice, chest and abdomen. 3 men standing over him, strangers, not local, wearing dark wool coats. Despite the heat, Brennan recognized the type, Pinkerton agents, or army contractors. They had rifles. Brennan had his Winchester. He asked what they were doing on his land. The lead man said, "Federal business, right away." Brennan didn't. He aimed at the man's chest, said, "This is my property. That's my guest. Get off, now." The men hesitated, then left, but one of them looked back, and Brennan saw it. Recognition. They knew who Brennan was. They knew where he lived. Vorethan was still alive, bleeding badly. Brennan tried to move him. Couldn't. Too heavy. Vorethan said, "Leave me." Brennan refused. Vorethan grabbed his arm, stronger than Brennan expected, said, "They will come back, with more men. They will search your ranch, burn the drawings, tell no one." Brennan said, "I'll get the doctor." Vorethan smiled, faint, sad. "There is no doctor, not for me." He died at sunset. Brennan buried him in the canyon, next to the marker, 8 feet deep, covered the grave with stones, marked it with nothing. 11 days later, U.S. Army. Captain Morris Kellerman, 47 soldiers. They came to the ranch, looking for evidence of a hostile encounter. They didn't ask. They searched, tore apart the barn, the house, the bunkhouse, found nothing, because Brennan had hidden the drawings in a sealed tin box, buried under the floorboards of his dead wife's room. The soldiers found the canyon, found the marker. Kellerman ordered it destroyed. They used black powder, blew it apart, reduced it to rubble. Brennan watched from a ridge, a mile away. The soldiers spent 2 more days searching, looking for bones, looking for artifacts, looking for Vorethan's body. They never found it. Before they left, Kellerman gave Brennan a warning. "Any discussion of what occurred here, with newspapers, with neighbors, with family, will result in arrest, federal charges. Do you understand?" Brennan understood. Thomas Brennan died in 1909, age 70, heart failure. He never spoke about Vorethan to anyone, but he kept the drawings. His son inherited the ranch, never knew about the tin box. His grandson sold the property in 1967. The new owner renovated the house in 1998, pulled up the floorboards in the old bedroom, found the box, rusted shut. He forced it open. Inside, 7 architectural drawings, charcoal on heavy paper, dated 1891, initialed VK, and a letter, in Thomas Brennan's handwriting. It read, "To whoever finds this, these are real. They were drawn by a man named Vorethan, who was 13 feet tall, who was shot by federal agents for the crime of existing. I buried him in Red Canyon. They destroyed what he built, but they didn't find these. Study them. These buildings were not fantasy. They are memory, memory of what was here. before we were told it was empty. The new owner contacted a historian. The historian contacted an architect. The architect studied the drawings, his analysis. The techniques shown were advanced, incorporating principles of passive solar design, thermal mass cooling, structural efficiency. Some elements matched buildings from the 1930s. Some matched buildings from the 1950s. Some matched nothing built yet. The drawings were dated 1891. The historian requested access to Army records. Specifically, August 1891, Wyoming Territory. Captain Morris Kellerman. Records show Kellerman was stationed at Fort Washakie, but there is no mission report for August 1528, 1891. Just a notation. Classified field operation. Federal authority. Records sealed. Still sealed. 133 years later, Thomas Brennan's letter ended with this: "They will say giants never existed. They will say the bones are hoaxes. They will say the cities are natural formations. But I met one. I spoke with him. I buried him. And if you are reading this, someone else is ready to listen. The drawings still exist, in private hands, photographed, analyzed, never published. Vorethan's marker was destroyed, but the rubble is still there, in Red Canyon. Scattered across half an acre, some stones still show traces of carving, geometric patterns, too precise to be accidental. The grave was never found, because Brennan never told anyone where it was, but he wrote the coordinates in the letter. Those coordinates are known to researchers. They have not been excavated, not yet. If this story moved you, share it with one person, just one. The official history says the West was empty, that settlers found nothing but wilderness. Thomas Brennan said otherwise, and he hid the proof. The soil keeps secrets, but eventually, the soil speaks. We're listening, are you?